Hey everybody, Jem Schofield here, and today I'm with Matt. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We're
Great.
here at Gosselin Pond Bed and Breakfast in upstate New York. And what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about handheld rigs and shoulder rigs.
Got it. And something that we really need to look at using when we're using DSLRs in production.
Absolutely.
And I guess, let's just start with a handheld rig and what it is and what we've got going on here and when we would use it.
Right. Well, so basically, working with DSLR cameras, they're really nice and small and lightweight.
Right.
That's fantastic for packing and traveling, but once you start hand-holding these cameras, every little bump and shake and movement you can see really well in the image. So it's nice to kind of build it out and put it on a rig to stabilize those images a little bit more.
Right.
So on this setup, what we've done on this handheld rig is it's still a fairly small, compact setup.
Right.
But what's nice about it is it does help extend out your center of gravity on the camera just a little bit, and it gives you a few points of contact to your body to help stabilize that image.
Got it.
So,
and you have it actually on sticks right now. It's on a tripod system.
exactly. So this is great because it's got that base where you can leave it on your sticks.
Right.
So if you're shooting an interview or shooting something where you need to be stable, you can do that. But then if you want, you can quickly just pop it off.
Yeah.
And now we've got our rig ready to go.
Great, and it is actually pretty compact. This particular rig is made by Red Rock Micro, and I know it's called the Event Rig. And you have it here with a follow focus system, and also a couple other things added to it. We've got on top of the rig a shotgun mic and a little zoom recorder.
Zoom. Yeah. What's great about these rigs too is since they're all 15 mil rod based, you can accessorize these things as much as you want to.
Got it, yeah.
So you can slim it down or you can add whatever you need to on top of it.
Well, that cheese plate under there, which you're using to put the base plate of your tripod system, is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, you can be in an event type situation where you can go directly from an interview on a tripod and then just take that off and get a shot.
Exactly.
What kind of things would we use this for?
This stuff is great if you're doing, any kind of run and gun stuff. If you're doing behind the scenes footage,
Right.
You're shooting an event, anything that you need a low profile rig that's going to be handheld. The thing that's also great about these is since it's not on your shoulder, it's really mobile. So you can move around, you can get low shots, you can get high shots. It's really diverse in the kind of shots that you can get.
And I know for a lot of my clients, we'll shoot little video podcasts with these because we can just, operate them for 2 or 3 minutes, not for hours at a time. And then it also looks like the handle is actually adjustable on there. You're talking about those low shots and things like that.
Yeah, you can flip this around. You can kind of go like this, and you can, it's configurable. You can put it however you want to make it comfortable.
Okay, and there's a body brace on there that helps with stability.
Yep.
So I think that for people who use a rig for the first time, there's a tendency to almost make themselves like a human tripod, right?
Right.
And so what's wrong with that?
So, I think the tendency is to try to get really rigid and hold a very static shot. What that'll do is eventually you're going to start to shake. Your arms are going to get tired. You're going to be holding your breath. And it just doesn't work. What you need to do, especially with these rigs, is accept the fact that you're shooting handheld. It's okay to have movement.
Right.
If you want a static shot, put it on a tripod. So it's okay to kind of just float a little bit. So it's important to, breathe at a normal rate, kind of find a pattern, and just move it a little bit and float it.
Okay, so it's like floating the camera, and a lot of times what I'll say to people is, if they have kids or something, it's almost like rocking a baby. You find a rhythm when you're moving that camera, and that will look a lot more natural than picking up the breathing in a body brace, or like you said, holding it for a long time, and then you start to shake, and the camera starts to pick that up.
Just stay loose.
Yeah, and image stabilization is not going to fix that problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a handheld rig, and I'm sure the principles of being able to move that camera also apply to the next type of rig that we're going to talk about, which is a shoulder-mounted rig.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at one of those and what the deal is with that. So we're going to get that on the tripod.
Throw this back on here.
Good. I love that we can go from there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. There
so
it
then
is.
here is a shoulder-mounted rig.
Got it.
Obviously the first thing is this is a much bulkier, beefier setup than what we have here.
Right.
So it's not as mobile, it's not as low profile, but once you throw it up onto your shoulder, you can really handhold this for hours.
Got it. So this shoulder-mounted rig, this particular one is made by Zacuto, and it's the double barrel. And this also, like this handheld rig, it's got a follow focus system, and in order for you to look at your picture, you have it hooked up to an electronic viewfinder. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, the thing that's great about this is, you can configure this setup in a million ways. We could offset the camera and put an eyepiece directly on the screen. We can use this electronic viewfinder. We can put an onboard display. Whatever you want to do.
Right, and like you said, we have this counterbalance here, and you have this shoulder pad, and the ability to build this up and then have it sitting on your body so that you can shoot for extended periods of time is a huge advantage to a shoulder-mounted rig.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's great about this is the more weight that you put on the camera, the more stable it's going to be, either hand-holding or walking or any of those shots, because the more weight, it's reducing all of that movement.
Got it. And so that floating still applies, but we also see, these rigs being used in different scenarios than we would with these handheld rigs. And the handheld rigs, we're doing little behind the scenes, we're doing little video podcasts, we're doing stuff at events where we might be floating around the room a little bit. But with this, we would see people who might be doing stuff that's more electronic news gathering, ENG style. And then also with, the two hand grips, we see a lot of people with film cameras who are doing episodic television or narrative work in this kind of scenario, right? Right.
I mean, again, because you have the added weight, once you put two hand grips on this and you put your eye up to the eyepiece, you've got a lot of stability. I mean, in this setup, you can come a lot closer to holding more of a static shot. Just because there is that weight. So this is great for, if you are doing a handheld setup in a feature film or something like that, you can really get much cleaner, nicer handheld shots with this.
Yeah, and you've got all of these points of contact. So we've got the two hand grips, we have the eyepiece here, and of course your shoulder.
Right.
And you're not picking up necessarily the same kind of breathing that you would pick up if you were using a handheld rig with a body brace.
Right, and again, with that counterweight, it's relieving a lot of the pressure on your forearms, so you really can just let the camera sit on your shoulder, and you're more guiding it with your hands as opposed to supporting it with your hands.
Got it. So in summary, when we're talking about shoulder-mounted rigs and handheld rigs, what would we be using each one for?
So the handheld rig is great if you're doing, kind of behind-the-scenes event, shooting where you're not running for long periods of time.
Right.
It's nice because if you're in a crowded space, it's small, it's compact, it's easily maneuverable. You can easily get those high angle and low angle shots. It's great for that setup.
And easy to travel with. It packs down into nothing.
Yep.
And we also have this configuration where we can go between shooting handheld and then just go right onto a tripod system.
Exactly. Again, being small and compact, it's easy to switch between the two setups.
And what about this?
So the shoulder-mounted rig is really set up for long periods of time when your hand's holding the camera. It's really smooth, it's steady, it's great for walking shots, and it just gives you a really steady image.
All right, so cool. So I think what we should do right now is just dip to black. We'll take a look at something shot with the shoulder-mounted rig. We'll take a look at something shot with the handheld rig. And thanks very much, Matt.
Okay, thank you.
So this is a shoulder mount setup with Matt on the Zacuto rig that we showed you earlier on. We're at Gosselin Pond Bed and Breakfast in Canosa Lake, New York. And this might be a typical setup that we would have on a travel show or one of those home shows. So let's go into the house and take a look now and see what this place is all about. So Matt's now using the handheld rig that we were talking about, and we've got the bed and breakfast right behind me. And what we're going to do is actually take a look at Gosselin Pond. It's actually a pond, and it's right behind Matt. So we're going to turn over here, and you'll see the pond right here, and that's why it's called Gosselin Pond.